You ever have one of those moments where your whole world turns upside down, right there in your own driveway? Because let me tell you, getting hit with a $675 fine for absolutely nothing will do it. And when I say nothing, I mean my fence was by the book, every single inch, but apparently that wasn't enough for Catherine Stone, our HOA president and the undisputed queen of Meadowbrook Springs. She was out to teach me a lesson, or maybe just flex her power. The kicker? When my wife Tracy, calm as you please, told Catherine we wouldn't pay a cent, Catherine lost her mind right in front of God and everybody. She started hollering about community standards, respect, and before I knew it, she had her phone out, calling the police, practically foaming at the mouth. My law enforcement friends will handle this, she declared, smug as a cat with a canary. And right then, I was ready for war. But Tracy, she just smiled, cool as a lake at sunrise, like she already knew how this was going to play out. Turns out she did. Looking back, I should have seen it coming. From the minute Catherine showed up at our door with a basket of overpriced cookies and that perfect little suburban smile, I should have known she was trouble. That was 18 months ago, right after we moved in, full of hope and plans, and thinking we'd found paradise. Tracy was settling into her new county job. Our daughter Emma was thriving. Senior year, top grades, Stanford dreams, the whole 9 yards. And Catherine, well, she was the jewel of the block, organizing events, remembering everyone's names, the kind of neighbor who always brought cookies, but never let you forget who was in charge. Catherine liked to say she'd retired from real estate to focus on community leadership. Unanimously elected HOA president, she told us like it was some kind of divine calling. You know how nobody ever gets elected unanimously unless they're either loved or feared? Yeah, that was Catherine. Always polished, always in control, never a hair out of place, and always watching. The trouble started with a violation notice about her fence. Catherine showed up at my door, clipboard in hand, all apologies and legalese. Your fence extension violates Section 12.7, she said, like she was reading off a teleprompter. She handed me a stack of papers with a $500 fine, but it was her delivery that got to me. Too smooth, too practiced. She had the whole act down, from the unanimous board vote to the painful duty for the good of the community. If you've ever been hit with that kind of fake sympathy, you know exactly what I mean. Tracy, though, she surprised me. Didn't flinch, didn't argue. She just said she'd need 30 days to review according to appeal procedures. Voice calm and steady. Catherine's face flickered, just for a second, like she wasn't used to being challenged. After Catherine left, Tracy drafted her response on official county letterhead, quoting statutes and codes with the kind of precision that made my head spin. Turns out, there were whole sides to my wife I'd never really understood. It wasn't just us. By lunchtime, the rumor mill had already done its worst. Emma came home, shaken, after hearing all kinds of wild talk at school about how our family didn't respect community rules. Her friends pulled away. Teachers started looking at her funny. One little fence dispute, and suddenly our whole lives were unraveling. Meanwhile, Catherine kept ratcheting up the pressure. I hope this doesn't need to go beyond the community level, she'd say, all concern and threats. Tracy wasn't rattled. I've handled escalations before, she told Catherine, and they stared at each other like two generals on opposite hills, each waiting for the other to blink. I couldn't shake the feeling I was missing something, about Tracy, about Catherine, about the whole game. Then Dave Mitchell showed up. New guy, 3 doors down, divorced, carrying a stack of documents and a whole lot of stories. You're not the first, he told us. Catherine's been running people out for years. He laid out violation timelines, photos, everything, property inspections on Tuesdays, board meetings on Thursdays, notices on Fridays. She always starts with fences and landscaping, he said. Once she's labeled you a problem, it just keeps escalating. I was grateful, at first. He seemed like the ally we needed. Sure enough, things got worse. Emma's grades slipped, her Stanford application looked shaky, and her friends kept their distance. Even Emma's counselor at school started acting strange, probing questions about her finances, Tracy's job, family routines. Dave said counselors had access to county databases and could be leaking info to Catherine. Paranoia? Maybe. But suddenly, everything felt possible. Then Tracy made a call. Time for full disclosure. She sent into the phone, all business. Later, Catherine showed up with a thicker stack of documents, her tone all sharp edges and legal threats. This wasn't about offense anymore. It was about power, intimidation, and who would break first. Even Dave started acting different, pushing us to go public, file complaints everywhere, turn it into a political battle. Dave's big idea? Plant false info. We told Emma, just at the dinner table, that maybe we'd have to move if things didn't calm down. The next day, Catherine dropped a comment about house hunting already, and the trap snapped shut. Dave was thrilled, except pretty soon he started asking more and more about Tracy's work, her schedule, her authority. He wanted details. At the time, I chalked it up to strategy. I should have trusted my gut. Meanwhile, Tracy was a machine. She filed complaints with every agency you could imagine. Ethics boards, code compliance, consumer protection. Her paperwork was flawless, targeted, and she knew exactly how to trigger investigations that would swamp Catherine's little kingdom. Even so, somehow, Catherine kept staying one step ahead, like she had a mole in our house. Emma hit rock bottom. Panic attacks, failing grades, her Stanford dream on the edge. Her substitute counselor suggested she lighten her workload. It was like the whole system was rigged to pressure us into giving up. Even my construction business started to crater, clients pulled out, reputation shot. Catherine's $500 fine was now costing us thousands. The pressure finally boiled over when Catherine sent a certified letter. Legal citations, escalation procedures, the works, threatening to sue. Tracy just smiled and said, "This should end soon. Very soon." And she meant it. Then, out of nowhere, the state ethics board showed up, suits, clipboards, recording devices, treating our suburban spat like it was a federal case. They called Tracy Commissioner Phillips. At first, I thought it was just respect for a county supervisor. But then deputies started tipping their hats and deferring to her. Investigators worked around her schedule. And the whole time, Tracy never broke a sweat. It all came to a head at a public hearing. Catherine rolled in, armed with documents, statistics, legal precedents. Her presentation was something else. Methodical, persuasive, accusing Tracy of abusing her position to dodge HOA rules. Dave, front and center, delivered a passionate defense of our family, talking about integrity and grace under pressure. Neighbors nodded along. But then, during a break, I found Dave outside on his phone. Yes, Catherine, the misdirection worked perfectly. They bought the leak was the school counselor. My blood ran cold. I confronted him. He didn't even bother to deny it. Catherine had been paying him for inside info. Easy money, he said. How was I supposed to know Tracy actually runs the county government? Turns out, he'd been feeding Catherine what she wanted to hear, while lying to her about Tracy's true position. Dave's bitterness spilled out. Resentment, jealousy, the whole ugly mess. He'd been paid to spy on us, but his lies had created a disaster for everyone. Then came the twist nobody saw coming. The lead investigator addressed Tracy as Commissioner Phillips in front of everyone, and suddenly the whole room realized the woman Catherine had been trying to bully was the chair of the county commission, the person who literally oversees the departments she'd been threatening to sick on us. The sheriff himself stood up, requesting Tracy's input on how to proceed. Catherine's face turned white as a sheet. "Commission chair? What do you mean?" she stammered. Her world crumbled in real time. Evidence poured in, Venmo payments to Dave, cell tower data, emails, you name it. Dave was arrested for conspiracy and bribery, his IT contract shredded. Catherine, stripped of her power, was sentenced to community service, maintaining the very public properties she'd weaponized against her neighbors. She wrote public apologies, paid restitution, lost everything. The HOA itself was dismantled and rebuilt with strict transparency and external oversight. Emma bounced back. Her Stanford essay on resilience became her ticket, and my business, once the truth was out, recovered stronger than ever. Tracy used the ordeal to create a county-wide program to prevent HOA abuse. You know what stuck with me most? Sometimes, the person you think is your enemy is just a pawn, and the person you trust most might have their own agenda. Power doesn't always look like you expect. Sometimes it sits right at your kitchen table, holding a cup of coffee and quietly running the whole show. In the end, Catherine's downfall was as public as her campaign of intimidation. The community chose transparency over fear and justice. Real justice, not the kind you buy with fines and threats, was served. But it left me wondering, where's the line between accountability and abuse of power? How far should a community go to protect itself? And who watches the ones who claim to be the watchers? If you've ever tangled with a power-drunk neighbor or had your own run-in with HOA drama, drop your story below. Tell me, what's the wildest, most ridiculous thing you've seen an HOA try to pull? And where, in your book, does justice land?